Hey guys! So, for the last couple weeks, you may have noticed or not noticed that I've kind of been out of town. However, I did get a really awesome opportunity to record this face reveal with Hard Bastard in his studio. And although it's been up on his channel, I figured I should probably put it up on mine. Now, there were a couple of issues with the camera going on and off, so there will be a couple of interruptions in between where you won't see the two of us on screen at the same time. Also, in the beginning, there was some echoing. I'm going to cut that out. I just thought, yeah, people on my channel might not have seen it, so I'd upload it here. We mostly just talk about some of the problems with immigration in Europe. I hope you enjoy it and enjoy the face reveal. Even though, yeah, again, couple days old. After this will be the last video that I will be putting out before I go back home from the end of my Christmas break, or winter break, whatever you want to call it. And I have a couple of cool things planned. There will be the second half of the video series that I'm doing on how the internet affects our relationships and behavior online, a video on Poland I've been working on for a while, and also just a kind of funny little meme that I think you might enjoy. Anyway, I hope you, for the time being, like this, and I'll ton a volt.
I guess that's probably what we should have done. We're getting too fancy. We're like, oh, we have guys. 2 mics. We wanted to make sure. Okay. All right, so.
You have to like the channel set up and everything?
Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is have a discussion about this and see if the media coverage matches up to reality. And so unless you have any sort of opening comments, we can get to the first bit of propaganda, helpful information from the Danish government.
Right.
That is totally not propaganda.
This is actually, yeah, I don't actually know if this is from the Danish government. The other one that we're going to watch is from the Swedish government for sure. But okay. This was definitely a viral campaign for hashtag dansk.
I am Danish?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I pronounce that wrong, I pronounce everything wrong, so.
Well, that's okay. So do I. Let me make sure that I have the desktop audio on. Yes, okay. Very good. So let's proceed. This is, I can't pronounce any of that, but it is hashtag I am Danish. Let's see if there's any spin to this. Was that too quick? Should we stop it to read it? The February 9th, 2017, the Danish Parliament, these subtitles need work, released this official statement, which states, the Danish Parliament concludes with concern that there today is areas in Denmark where the share of immigrants and descendants from non-Western, I imagine they meant non-Western.
Yeah, but I mean, you know.
But that's okay.
Don't assume their gender
or
grammar.
Countries is more than 50%. Well, it really is going to depend on if the none is identifying as a no or a none.
That's true.
So, let's continue. It is the apprehension of the Danish Parliament that Danes should not be a minority in residential areas in Denmark. Martin Henriksen, DF. Is that, I guess, some sort of the government position, DF?
I don't know the parties in Denmark, honestly.
Okay. So now we have a little girl and a boy.
Jeg hedder Abde, og jeg er 11 år.
You know, just a bunch of cute kids.
Jeg hedder Sarah,
it couldn't possibly be used in any way by a propaganda campaign. Never. That would never happen.
Using children for propaganda.
I know, that's unheard of.
Unbelievable.
Jeg hedder Scarlett, og jeg er 7 år.
Hvor kommer du fra?
Danmark. Jeg kommer fra Danmark. Danmark. Denmark.
Well, I mean, why would you even ask these children? They're obviously ethnic Danes. Just by looking at them, you can tell.
Totally. I tell you this. Now, here's the thing. We'll get into it. If they were born in the country, I don't have an issue. But let's just watch what they do to these children.
Yeah.
Hvorfor?
Fordi jeg er født i Danmark. Fordi jeg er blevet født i Danmark, og jeg er vokset op her. Fordi jeg blev født i Danmark. Jeg blev opvokset derhen, og jeg kan godt lide Danmark. Og det er sjovt at være derhen.
All right, so it looks like this boy was not born in the country. but the rest were. Now, I'm of the opinion if you were born in the country, you are, if you say where you're from, Sweden or Denmark, whatever, I don't have an issue with that. I know people who are more to the right have an issue.
I disagree.
So what obviously they're not ethnic Danes. I'm not completely insane in my position. What's your position on that?
Well, okay. It's a little bit different when you're talking about a country like Denmark that has been 99.9% ethnic Danes for the entirety of its history.
Yeah.
Unlike America, which has had a long and prolonged history of being multiracial, or at least biracial.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing for you to, be born in this country, which is in part, although some of this is a little bit of a lie, in that the idea that the founding fathers intended this country to be multiculti, that's not correct. However, I think that you have a better argument if you are an American to say, well, if you're born here, then you're an American. I'm actually okay with that statement. As long as you embrace American values, I think that's completely fine. It's a little bit different for me, though, when you talk about countries like Sweden and Denmark and Norway and Finland. Scandinavian countries or other countries in Europe that have been ethnically one or a certain number of cultures over a prolonged period of time. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be rude to these children, but I think that the idea that to say that you're not necessarily Danish, you're a Danish citizen, sure.
Well,
you're a citizen of Denmark.
I guess I should be clear. Obviously, I'm not talking about ethnically. Right. I'm talking about as far as legal citizenry.
Sure.
Yeah. So I take issue with what they're going to do with most of these children. Now, this little boy came here. So he's technically from wherever he came from. Mm-hmm. I don't really feel like you should subject children to this type of shit regardless, because honestly, I don't really think children do they really want to answer these deep questions in regards to where you're from? And I mean, I think he'd rather go play with toys.
Probably. I mean, there's someone who knows more about, complex political issues than 10-year-olds.
Let's continue.
That's why we have to make so many videos asking them about it.
Yes, we have to ask the children. Just like, on Twitter, apparently there is a group of brilliant children in America.
All these woke 8-year-olds.
Yeah, they're like, my 8-year-old saw Donald Trump and said, "Daddy, are we going to have another Holocaust?" And crazy shit like that. It's amazing.
All right. Du er ikke dansk.
So that's just rude, frankly. I mean, now, like I said, technically with this child, I don't know what his actual legal status is, and I apologize for the rude freeze frame on a little boy. I don't like to do that. I don't know what is his legal status. They don't.
I have no clue.
Anyway, it's kind of rude to do this to a child. Technically, though, if he's not a citizen, he's technically from another country, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being from another country. I think they are being overly harsh on these children to make them cry, so then they can say, "You see, you damn racists who have a problem with the
Have you learned your
refugees."
lesson that this is when you criticize migration into countries like Denmark, this is who this is the whole point of this. This is who you're criticizing.
Right.
A child.
A child, right.
An innocent child who just wants to live in Denmark.
Exactly.
Man kan ikke sige, at hvis man henter hele verden til Danmark, og at de så får nogle børn i Danmark, så bliver de børn danske.
All right, so let's break down this statement. You can't say that just because you bring the whole world to Denmark, and they have some kids in Denmark, that those kids are Danish. Well, okay, excuse my ignorance, is that what you would refer to an ethnic person from Denmark as Danish? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you would be a citizen of Denmark. It would be incorrect. Right. So they're demanding, am I correct? They're demanding that they incorrectly refer to people in a certain way. It's not good enough to say, "Hey, you're a citizen of Denmark." A person like me would still not be acceptable enough, even though I'm like, okay, you were born in the country, you are a citizen, therefore you stay, right? Mm-hmm. That's probably a more liberal position. But are they arguing that no, you have to refer to them almost as if they're ethnically Danish?
Yeah. Well, I think that okay, so this is obviously without giving too much away, propaganda. Sure. Yes. Just a little bit. I found this video a while ago, and I've been meaning to talk about it, so I thought this was good for us to do.
Yeah.
But I think that their whole argument is, as I sort of said before, is that it doesn't matter how many people you bring into Denmark from other parts of the world, they will never be ethnically Danish. Well, I mean, maybe after a couple of generations, I
that's
suppose.
a statement of fact.
At which point,
Right.
what is... I think that's the goal, is that at that point, what is Danish anymore? If it becomes indistinguishable because everyone has, interbred or with people from other countries, whereas historically there's been a certain ethnic culture that has belonged and lived in Denmark. So their argument would be that, or the argument that they're making against this child is that, yes, because it doesn't matter if you were born here, you're still not ethnically Danish.
Which is a statement of fact.
Yes.
See, look, it's amazing to encroach on a person's ethnicity. That's amazing. So it's they're demanding that you speak incorrectly and act as if a person who's not ethnically Danish should be considered ethnically Danish. And on top of this, I hate to use the term because it's so controversial, but the replacement of an ethnic group, I'm against that. I don't care what group you are, but that's not cool. That's not acceptable, and it doesn't make you racist. It makes you a person who is. I think it's a very fair position that I have. I don't think it's alt-right.
This would be like if I moved to Japan. Now, Japan has very strict immigration policy.
Yeah.
And in fact, you can never become you can become a citizen, but it's wonky. And, but they would never accept me as a Japanese person.
Right, because you're not
Japanese. I'm not Japanese.
Right, exactly.
And for whatever reason, we seem to be okay with that. People seem to understand that if I move to Japan, or if you and I move to Japan,
yes,
and raise children in Japan, it wouldn't matter. Those children would not be Japanese either.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't matter. None of that matters. But when it's Denmark, for some reason, or when it's Sweden, or Norway, or France, or Germany, well then any children born there are German. And they're not German citizens, they are Germans, or they're French, or they're Danish. I find that a little bit absurd. It's fine to say that they're a Danish citizen.
Yeah, absolutely, and that it's no problem to be in this situation. It's interesting. It's almost like they're making something that's not a bad thing into a bad thing in order to kind of encroach on their on this ethnic group in particular here. All right, let's continue. Why are you delaying in answering his question? This is cruel. This is not nice behavior to children.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that the actors, children, were pretty, were well compensated. With
I wasn't sure. There is a moment though where when we saw this, where I had a reaction. But to this point, I was like, "Oh, these might be real kids that they're just abusing."
I'm still not sure. Yeah.
But we'll see, and the people can decide. See, that's rude. I mean, I hate to keep pausing it. It's rude to say to a person who was born, actually. So Danish. Why would you, if they're a citizen of Denmark, why would you say? It's almost like it's a reverse racism thing where they're like, you are brown, therefore you're not Danish.
Yeah, that's that's what they're doing.
But they're the ones that are supposed to be not racist making the commercial.
No, okay. The point of this is to show you how ugly racism is, because look at how mean it is to say that you're not Danish to a child. Because when you say, this is the point, if you say that you're against immigration, mass immigration to countries like Denmark, you are essentially saying to a child, you're not Danish. Because you're an immigrant, because you're a racist. They're trying. The person who's speaking to the children in this instance is supposed to be the evil racist,
right?
Who's trying, and that's if you are a person who feels that way, you are identical to this individual. You would be you would be associated with them, put in their shoes.
I'm gonna just guess. This is a flat guess, but that the quote in the beginning about the whole world coming to Denmark, I imagine that was probably a quote from like a politician that was against refugees.
It sounds very familiar, but I'm not. That quote actually does sound familiar, but okay. I'm not positive off the top of my head.
All right, let's continue. Oh, and just to give warning to the audience, we have a battery thing coming in the mail shortly. So if the picture disappears of us, we're still going to continue while the batteries change. So don't worry about that. All right, let's continue.
Du er ikke dansk.
Jo,
Nej, du er ikke dansk, Abde.
Erik.
This is what you do. You're literally making children upset when you say that you oppose immigration. You're making this little girl cry.
Oh, yes. Well, let's see.
Okay.
The other thing, would a 7-year-old be able to ascertain the difference between being Danish and being a citizen of Denmark?
Again, who better to ask about complex political issues than 10-year-olds? I can't think of anyone better.
Well, the Metro advocated giving sex toys to 8-year-olds, which is fucking ridiculous and insane.
Unbelievable.
I guess it makes sense to ask 7-year-olds deeply divisive and difficult political questions.
I mean, the whole idea of this, the concept behind it, it's twofold. One is that humans are evolutionarily designed to want to care for children. So I think if you put children up here and show and do mean things to them, then everyone will want to help and protect them. Right. Not everybody feels that way, but the vast majority of many people do have that response to want to protect and help children.
Yeah.
The other one is that this concept of childlike innocence, I think, in that, if you just ask a child, they'll have the real answer, because adults are so cynical and mired in all kinds of hang-ups. Mm-hmm. However, that's obviously false particularly when it comes to politics. I mean, let's ask her about Austrian economics next and see what her opinion is on that.
Okay, now. You know what? Maybe you missed it, so I'm going to just, audience, I'm going to just rewind a tad. You tell me what you think of this look. You just, Was that real? Maybe I'm in it. Look, maybe I'm just one big asshole. And I, I'm looking for bullshit in the wrong place. You should never look for bullshit when it comes to children. So perhaps I'm just being a hard ass.
Again, remember, children, that's where, they don't lie. That's where you get the real truth at. So there's no possible way. I have never even heard the words child and actor placed next to each other in a sentence before.
I'd like to see that. That'd be an interesting thing if we could ever find one.
Jeg føler mig dansk,
Don't you feel bad for being such a racist
Hvorfor?
now?
Oh my god.
fordi at jeg har det sjovt her i Danmark, og jeg er født og opvokset, og jeg har mange venner her.
Yes, you are a citizen of Denmark. There's nothing wrong with that. And wherever you came from, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, you came from Denmark.
Yeah.
But wherever your parents came from, there's nothing wrong with that. I have no issue, but they're purposely trying to make this kid feel bad. It's awful. It's terrible. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to one more time just kind of ask you, like I said, if I'm being a hard ass and being an asshole, then fine, but just you tell me. Let's do it again.
Oscar worthy.
Dear politicians, please remember. Oh, who you're talking about. Now, that's completely conflating children, which, when it comes to the migrant crisis, obviously, that's part of it. But there are also people who are coming for financial reasons, and that, for some reason, tends to be ignored. And also, we have the men of military age. That, again, it's just it's almost like that doesn't exist.
You have to look at the numbers. I mean, from the most recent estimates I've seen, it's 70 to 80% are men of military age of all of the migrants who have come in during this so-called migrant crisis. And of those, I think it was 80%, the most recent number I saw. But then when they redid the numbers after the fact, after that analysis, they found out that I think 50 to 75% of the male children who were included under that 20% additional were actually legally adults. So it's something like between 70 and 90% of the migrants coming into Europe through this so-called migrant crisis are adult males who are coming most likely for financial reasons, because they get gibs, to say it colloquially.
So when they say that this is who you're talking about, that is demonstrably false.
I mean, there are some, sure,
but the overwhelming majority.
It is statistically non-representative. They needed to have, a 35-year-old guy. Actually, they needed to have, for all of those children, they would need to have 10 to 20 30-year-old men to be represented, and a couple of women to be truly representative of the population that is coming in. Now, again, these are supposedly Danish-born citizens.
Yeah.
And that is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about immigration to Denmark, in this case, they are using very specific examples of, one, Danish-born children, and two, children who not representative of what people are upset about at all. And this is a clear diversion tactic of saying, oh, here's who the real migrants are. This is who you're talking about when you want to get rid of these refugees. Not the adult males who are coming in droves.
Yeah.
But of course, as we know, they don't do anything wrong either. They're just seeking asylum.
No.
They don't drive any trucks of peace.
I can't think of a single incident that has possibly happened. We're going to probably
do this one quickly.
Yeah.
It's really short, and everyone I think has seen this, so I don't know if you even want to cover it.
No,
too much.
I do want to cover this. This is one of the things that when I talk about, again, it's a very controversial term, replacement.
You didn't say genocide.
No, but I've actually talked about that. I've been of the position that, for example, some people, when they suggest that the hiring practices of Netflix is somehow white genocide, I think that's bullshit and retarded. However, when it comes to Sweden, if you look up the definition of genocide, there is a violent genocide and there's a cultural genocide. I think if you look at all the evidence of what is going on in Sweden, I think if you're honest, that is what's happening in Sweden. They are trying to replace the culture. Now, if you don't believe me and you think, well, you're being racist, or that's an alt-right position, therefore if you accept factual information, you are therefore alt-right, which again is retarded, why don't we just look to see what the TV ads in Sweden are saying? So this is, was this from the government, or it's still one of those kind of,
I'm still not entirely positive. I think it is, but...
Okay.
And this came out now over a year ago, so it's a little bit old, and a lot of people have probably seen this, but if you haven't, I think it's important to.
Well, I always like to hope that there's a couple of leftists in the audience who, I could possibly be reached with this shit that aren't going to just automatically label us racist or alt-right for discussing this.
Det finns ingen väg tillbaka.
No way back.
Sverige blir aldrig som det varit.
Europa är i förändring och Sverige behövs som en
Should we let me make sure we're reading these here. There is no way back. Wow,
they're pretty quick.
Sweden will never be what it once was.
That's a death knell. And this is supposed to be a positive advertisement.
And why? Why do you have to replace anyone? There's no need to replace people. Why do you have to be this is insane.
Because white people are evil. I mean, that really does what it comes down to. If you looked at, I don't remember, it was some German MP, I believe, who said basically I'm happy that ethnic Germans will be a minority in 20 years. This is my goal, is to make them the minority. That is what this is saying, is that the goal is to make ethnic Swedes the minority in Sweden. Why? Because white people evil.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because like I would be against a group of white people going into a black country and saying your culture is bullshit, therefore we're going to replace you. That would be completely fucking unethical.
We've done that a little bit, but
Oh, absolutely, and it's unethical. But why when it comes to this, it's almost like people accept it. It's like okay, it's not okay. Doing this to any group of people is not okay. I don't care what color their skin is.
And look at that precise example in terms of South Africa. In that it was white people came into a predominantly black country. They colonized it. They introduced their civilization there, and that was viewed as that's colonialism. That's evil. That's terrible. How dare you do this terrible thing to these black people? And then when they come back and start mass murdering white farmers.
Oh yeah, it's not that's technically
don't report on
not
that.
a crime.
That's racism.
Yeah, I think Winston, did the camera go off?
Yeah, just
Okay, sure. All right, but you guys can still see the video.
Sverige blir aldrig som det varit.
What it once was.
Europa är i förändring och Sverige behövs som en trygg
Europe is changing. Sweden needs to be a safe space for refugees.
plats för människor på flykt.
Nu måste vi söka.
Now we must look forward and find a way to live side by side. But that's not what you're advocating here. You're not advocating living by side. I am on board with living side by side. You are advocating for the destruction of one of the races.
Well, you're saying that the people whose country you're moving into need to get the fuck over the fact that it's not their country anymore. I mean, could you imagine that in not even in any other country, but regarding any other thing? Like, I don't know. If someone moved into your apartment one day, so let's say you saw this a lot, like when there's natural disasters. People say, oh, okay, you can come, stay in my apartment or something.
Right.
And then that person just doesn't leave and says, this is my apartment now.
It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, you could argue this is shit to go to war over, frankly. I mean, but the leaders of the countries are just allowing it to happen. It's amazing. And like I said, I'm on board with living side by side. But apparently that's not enough.
They're not just allowing, they're advocating actively for it. Which is even
Vilka vägar
worse.
framåt och hitta ett sätt för alla att leva tillsammans.
Det är dags att inse
It's time to realize that the new Swedes will claim their space. What the fuck?
I know, right? The new, it's like,
What?
Yeah, it's basically, fuck off, Whitey.
Holy shit, man.
This is our space now. You invited me in. This is now, it is like having somebody just move into your apartment. They come over because, hey, I got kicked out of my place. I need a place to crash. And then they just move in.
And amazing, you have to wonder why would there be a rise in far-right groups?
I
can't figure that out. Huh.
It really piques my pistachios.
Wow,
I have no
that's
answer.
just, that's a weird thing.
Can you go into video capture?
Yeah, sure. All right, guys, just 1 second. Let me...
Also, the volume for the YouTube video is really loud.
Oh.
Really loud?
Lower it like a third.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, sorry, guys. All right,
maybe just lower it in YouTube then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Let me, 1 second. We're going to have to just do the video thing. 1 second.
loud.
Okay, we're going to go back.
So weird. Yeah.
All right, we're back. Apologize for the delay. Let me get rid of the break screen. Okay, so now back to the video where they're telling the Swedes what's good for them. Replacement.
Government always knows better than you.
Yes, always. Good girl. That's a good girl.
Att nya svenskar kommer att ta plats.
Med kultur, språk och vanor.
And bring their culture, language, and habits. It's time to see this as a positive force.
This seems so much like satire. It's almost it feels like a Poe. You know, when I first saw this too, I was like, this is not real. This was made by Poll. You know, this was made by people on the internet to precisely be anti-immigration. Because this is everything that people who are afraid of this are afraid of. And they're proposing it as not only is it a good thing, but get the fuck over it because you don't have an option.
Yes, although you're not considering the fact that at least, you know, from what I understand, that there at least there's this benefit from what they call grooming gangs. Apparently there's a group of very helpful refugees that go around and, like, I guess they're combing children's hair and kind of helping them, like, get dressed for school and stuff.
Delousing them, I guess.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
sounds good.
Who wouldn't want that? Oh my God.
Det är dags att se det som en positiv kraft.
Att vara svensk måste...
To be Swedish must be more than skin color and place of birth. Well, isn't that up to each individual person to decide? I don't really care what a person believes in regards to that.
I mean, you can hold your own belief, but my belief is different, and you can't tell me what the fuck not... Okay, this entire thing of telling people what the fuck to believe or think.
Right.
That's an absurdity. If I think that to be Swedish means that you should be an ethnic Swede, that's my belief.
Right.
Now you can say you're a citizen of Sweden. I agree with that. That's also legally correct. But that's just my opinion. Is that you're not Swedish if you are not ethnically Swedish.
Right. And so I guess this is the new think that is required, and it's and you know what, like, what the fuck if you're running a country and you have a challenge like they're facing with people from other countries coming in on a massive scale? Why would you create the most adversarial fucking commercial? Like, this is incredible. If you told me that there was from this commercial, if it went around enough, that there was a rise in ethno-nationalism and a rise of the alt-right in that country, I'd be like, yeah, that generally tends to be what happens.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's exactly what we're seeing right now in Poland. And yes, that Poland video is coming because I keep getting questions about it.
Oh, yes.
But it's when I go back home. But no, we see a massive rise in nationalism in Poland, which of course is reported by the media as massive neo-Nazi riots. When in reality, there are people going out there and singing "Poland is not yet lost," the national anthem, and but because they're lighting fireworks, it's a riot.
Yeah, right.
No, they love their country, and part of that is a reaction to the fact that the EU is pushing this so desperately. That Poland, you're not allowed to be Poland.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, countries like Sweden and Denmark, now they've been in relative isolation. They really were not also involved in the two great world wars. So they've been sort of uninvolved in some of the fraternicide. They've also not been involved in a lot of the change of culture. They weren't involved they weren't former Soviet states. So they've been pretty much at peace. So for them, they're just not used to what it's like to lose your culture, to lose your country, to understand what it means to truly lose the ethnic identity. And now they're being faced with it, and some people, liberally oriented minded people who have been taught that white is bad and privileged, think that it is bad to be Swedish in terms of if that means ethnically Swedish. They're gonna have to learn, I guess. They'll learn or burn. But countries like Poland, countries like Hungary, they've already learned that lesson.
Få vara mer än hudfärg och födelseort.
Det måste få vara du.
It must be you,
ja,
me, and
och alla
everyone
tillsammans.
Det är inte bara...
Yeah, except for white people.
Right, except for white people.
Except for the ethnic Swedes. Fuck them.
Right, fuck the ethnic Swedes. It's not only the new Swedes that need to integrate. That's funny you use the word integrate, but that's not really what you were talking about before. But okay.
No, they need to claim their space is what they said before. They need to
Alla
claim
nya
their
svenskar
space.
som ska integreras.
Right.
Alla behöver inte...
But the old Swedes have to integrate it well.
No.
Into
no,
fucking what?
No.
What would they have to integrate into?
That's not how immigration works.
No.
That's not how integration works.
What the fuck?
You come to a place, you don't go to Japan as an American and start being like, all right, everybody,
Yeah.
I would say McDonald's everywhere, but there are McDonald's everywhere in
Right,
Japan.
right.
So, yeah, you don't go to Japan and just say everybody starts speaking English now.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that works.
It's incredible.
You integrate to their society, not the other way around. And we find that that's not what they are doing. We find that they're not assimilating, time and time again.
Could you
From the
imagine
statistics.
if you advocated for like going into Israel and be like, you know what, guys, all this like Jewy shit, get this out of here. We're gonna fucking open up our own
Oy vey,
Christian.
watch out.
We're gonna open we're gonna just do a whole Christian thing. Get this shit out of here. It would be outrage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see? This is unrelated, but it's a little minor point. Lorde, who's a pop star, is not
Yes.
going to perform in Tel Aviv.
Saw that.
So now it's a massive thing, just because she's not performing there.
Yes.
And yeah, it would be like that with anything.
Yeah. It was like for the BDS thing. Is that correct?
Something about Palestine, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever, that's the point. Is
Yeah.
that if this was any place other than a European nation,
Yeah.
this would be
Deras även
reprehensible.
etablerat
Yes.
svenskar. Integration
Integration is about finding mutual understanding. No, it isn't. I mean, mutual understanding of the native culture that you are joining, yes, but what does the other side have to do? I mean, I guess you could argue they should be accepting of your wanting to integrate into the native culture.
Sure, but
that's
even
not what they're
even
advocating
that
for.
though is their prerogative.
That's true. Oh, that's true. Yeah, of
You
course.
can, I mean, if you're the citizen of the nation, then it's
Yeah.
your right to do whatever the fuck you want.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I'm sorry that it's not nice, but life isn't fair in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, no one owes you even niceties. Now,
It's true.
that might make them kind of a dick.
Yeah,
But-
but you're allowed to be a dick. It's legal to be a dick. I don't advocate for
Handlar om-
being a dick, but you know.
I mean, if you're not integrating,
ömsesidighet.
so I don't blame you.
Låt oss skapa en framtid.
Let's create a future that is based on equal parts reality and belief in the future. Well, equal parts reality.
Some
this
critical
is,
theory
Som
stuff.
bygger på lika delar realitet och framtidstro.
Låt oss bygga ett land.
Där vi sätter hat och rädsla åt sidan.
let's build a country where we put hate and fear aside. Well, I would argue that if you'd like to do that, then you don't run this fucking commercial that would make
Fear-mongering
white people
ad.
shit their pants.
Right. This is essentially saying, yeah, white people, your time is over. I mean, that's literally, it's Sweden is dying. What? How else could you possibly react to this? I don't. I mean, what? Yeah, you wonder why there's a move towards the right.
Yeah.
What a surprise! Imagine my shock.
Jesus. It's like one of the things, one of the like illustrations I like to use is like prison. If you were forced to go into prison in the United States, you could be going into prison with your best friend who's black. But if you're going into a pound your ass prison, the way it works in prison, in most of them at least, it's divided into racial groups.
Mm-hmm.
And if you defy that and you try to have your own group, you're going to find yourself beaten, killed, and likely with a bigger asshole than you would normally prefer. So that's what happens. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that's what happens. So now you take that and you apply it to this situation where if you, I don't want to use the word invade, but when a government is so irresponsible in how they're handling immigration that it feels like an invasion to the native population, and then on top of that, you run commercials like this. This is almost like people are going to go to, I'm sure there's a term for it, the prison response, which is like close ranks, group up with your own people, and fight for your
It's
survival.
just social identity. This is the natural and inherent state of humanity. And I, as much as I, as a libertarian, appreciate and advocate for libertarianism, the truth of the matter is that people are collectivistic inherently.
Yeah.
We always go towards our tribe and prefer our tribe and our kin. I mean, not like that's in general. These are always aggregates. This does not refer to every single person in every single instance. But of course, what you're saying here is you're actually threatening someone's kin by saying you're all done and get over it. Right. And then you wonder why they're threatened. You are creating hate and fear by doing this.
Absolutely.
Vi har alla det nya landet inom oss.
I våra synsätt, tankar och handlingar.
Det är dags att vi tillsammans formar.
It's time to create a country together that is proud, inclusive and sustainable.
Well, this sure isn't sustainable.
Som är stolt, inkluderande och hållbart.
Något nytt. Det nya landet.
Something new, the new country. Buy your pork while you can.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I've seen those in at least UK shopping stores, shops where if there's Muslim employees there, they'll say you can't go to this register if you
I saw the signs, but they're like, we don't serve alcohol. But they sell alcohol at the store, but you can't buy it.
You can't buy it,
the only cashier on
duty is.
Duty, right.
That's the end of that nightmare.
Wow. Okay, amazing. So, yeah, I mean, if there's anything else you want to add about that, we can move on.
No, I think we covered it, and it mostly speaks for itself, honestly.
Yeah. So we have articles here, and let's see. So
we have two really short articles that are like related to current events. This one is kind of though. So let's go. The first one though.
This one?
Yeah, is going off with the narrative that yes. Do you see? I mean, you saw all the nice, pretty faces in that one, just like the first one. Everybody who is coming here is very nice and wonderful and friendly, and they have no desire to be here other than they just want to live in Sweden or Denmark because they're looking for a better life and they have no ulterior motives and they're totally doing it legitimately. I just found this article. I'm surprised this hasn't gotten shared around and talked about on YouTube more than it has, because this is NPR, guys.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate article, and there are actual scientists commenting on it, or at least doctors as far as I can tell.
Well, let's go over it and see, if we can detect any bullshit. Let's have an open mind.
I doubt there's any.
Hi, Ken, it's NPR. In Sweden, hundreds of refugee children gave up on life. Oh.
See, another reason. Like, they probably just told them they weren't Swedish so many times. Like, that they literally
They just gave up on life. And there they are giving up on life. The Swedish word that is
Uppgiven hästsyndrom.
Wow, that's impressive. Sounds like what it is. That's okay, whatever.
It's it's a given up syndrome.
Interesting. A syndrome in which kids have given up on life. That's what several hundred children and adolescents have done, literally checked out of the world for months or years. Oh, I didn't know this was, has this really been going on for years?
Apparently.
Okay.
I think there's one case that's, like 3 years, I believe.
They go to bed and they don't get up. They're unable to move, eat, drink, speak, or respond. All of the victims of the disorder, sometimes called resignation syndrome, have been youngsters seeking asylum after a traumatic migration, mostly from the former Soviet and Yugoslav states. So right off the bat, based off of the numbers that we've talked about, they're lying because there's not enough children for this to even have been possible.
Well, okay,
right?
I'll tell you, when they say the mostly former Soviet and Yugoslav states, they say that in a very specific way, because it's mostly like Albania.
Oh,
it's a lot of predominantly Muslim countries.
Okay.
And they go on to talk about some of the examples later in the article, I believe. Now, I've been holding on to this article, guys, for a couple months now, and I just haven't known what to do with it because it's insane. So, but I believe that they're not, when they use the word Soviet to make you think
We're talking about white people.
Right,
okay.
Or Slavs, I guess.
Right.
Like, Hitler wouldn't have considered them white.
I
mean,
gotcha.
like, you're not either.
I know. I'm Italian and Native American. All of them live in Sweden. Rachel Aviv, a staff writer at The New Yorker, described these children in the April 3rd, 2017 article, The Trauma of Facing Deportation. The children go into these coma-like states when their families are notified that they will be deported. The only known cure...
Strange coincidence, huh?
This is just weird. The only known cure is for their families to receive residency permits allowing them to stay in Sweden. Oh, wow. That doesn't sound like bullshit at all. It's not a sudden, magical reawakening when family members read the approved residency permit in the non-responsive child's presence. Oh my God. Wow.
I thought this was satire too.
Woo!
This is NPR.
This is NPR, ladies and gentlemen. I can't even keep my composure. Somehow, the information gets through. Well, clearly we're dealing with a deity of some sort. You gotta think about that Prophet Muhammad and Allah. Looks like they're getting shit done here. While there are no long-term follow-up studies. Weird, yeah. Aviv says, over a period of days, weeks, sometimes a few months, the child begins to eat, move, react, and come back to the world. Goats and Soda talked with Aviv about the story. The story is shocking. It reads like one of those ancient fairy tales. Well, you're kind of onto something.
Maybe.
Fairy tale.
Just a little bit?
Yeah. Yes. Where terrible things happen to innocent children. Were you typically skeptical that this was a real disorder? Oh, this is not a propaganda piece at all.
Yes, I was very skeptical, TM, when I first...
Oh my God. How do you exploit children who have undergone trauma like this? This is fucking disgusting. I first read about it in the Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience because I was reading about it in an academic article. I didn't think to doubt it. Oh, well, that's not an appeal to authority at all.
I mean, I did say we have a tendency to do that. I mean, academics, too. It's that I don't know Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience, but my guess would be that's probably a pretty prestigious journal. And probably the initial thing was a case study, in which case someone was saying, oh, hey, look, I found this kid who suddenly went into a coma. And now, of course, you have to understand how these studies are conducted. The scientist comes by, maybe once a week, maybe once a day, and says, is the kid still in a coma? And then they always are.
Amazing.
When they're supposed to come by, the kid's in bed and unresponsive. But they don't seem to be wasting.
Wasting away? Like...
wasting syndrome is when, they're saying the kids can't eat or drink. So I'm interested, is that why none of them died? Because if they've been in this for years, they would have wasting syndrome.
Oh, that's interesting.
But, it's Allah, peace be upon him, I'm sure.
I think it's Allah. I think that's what's going on here. We have an Allah situation. There is this sense of unreality. There is a sense of unreality here. There was a disconnect between how young and healthy, even beautiful they looked. They looked like they were sleeping. It was a sickening feeling to know that they were in that position for years. People make comparisons to bears hibernating. Well, I mean, the problem with that is human beings don't hibernate unless perhaps...
well, it says humans don't hibernate in the next sentence.
Oh, but humans don't hibernate.
It's good to know that. It's also good to know that trouts don't lay eggs.
Yes,
or that trouts have a short pregnancy.
This is basically the same level here. Academics, please respond. It felt surreal. The two sisters you wrote about were Roma from Kosovo. The older sister lost her ability to walk within 24 hours of the family's application for residency being turned down. Her younger sister is also bedridden and unresponsive. They were lying in bed. Their doctors were manipulating their bodies, and the girls did not show any signs that they were aware that there were people around them. When I met them, one of the girls had been in the state for 2 years, the other one for a few months. When the doctor shined a flashlight on the girl's eyes, the one who had been sick the longest just sort of stared directly at the doctor as if she didn't even notice that someone was opening her eyelid.
All right. Did her pupils dilate? You didn't answer that question. Because there's an autonomic response that happens when you shine a light in someone's eye that causes pupil dilation. This is how you know, for example, whether or not someone is blind. It's a particular test. There's many ways, different types of blindness. But did her pupils dilate? that would be a big difference. If she was actually, if there was actually some sort of neurological problem, then yeah, then we might expect even that there's a disconnect between the messaging system that happens between the eyes and the brain. Now, I should note, stuff like this is not impossible. There's something called psychosomatism, which means that you can work yourself into a state. There's all kinds of weird psychosomatic disorders. There's something called phantom pregnancy, for example, where women want to be pregnant so bad that they have every single symptom of it up until like they look like they're 9 months pregnant, and they have no. That's just all how psychosomatism works. The mind can do really weird stuff to the body. However, it seems to be an interesting trend among all the people who are affected by this particular disorder.
Yes, there does seem to be a trend here.
We don't often find that in psychosomatic disorders.
Interesting. I met a boy that I didn't write about. He lived in a hotel. He and his mother had received a residency permit already. He had been apathetic for about 2 years while the family waited and worried that they would be deported. Even though his family had received the residency permit about 3 months before, the only progress he had made was to open his eyes. He was sitting up, but he could not hold his head up on his own. We'd be talking, his family, his doctors, and suddenly I'd remember that he was in the room. It was almost as if there was a mannequin in the room that I kept forgetting about. He didn't seem to be there mentally. That was concerning. He should have been recovering by then. His doctors were hopeful that he'd get better, but there have been almost no follow-up studies about what happens to these children. You did write extensively about Georgie from the Russian province of North Ossetia, who went to bed and stayed there when his family's permit was denied in 2015. In late May 2016, Georgie's family received another letter from the Migration Board. Their neighbor Alina Zapolskaya translated it. The Migration Board finds no reason to question what is stated about Georgie's health. She read out loud, he is therefore considered to be in need of a safe and stable environment and living conditions in order to recuperate. What was his recovery like? I would never have known that he was sick. He looked and acted completely normal. But even with complete recovery, some of these children have missed 2 years of their lives, and that's a big deal.
And you know what? Look, it doesn't really matter where they're from. Like, I think I said in the beginning that I thought a lot of them were from, predominantly Muslim areas. But it just kind of gives you a taste of how cucked Sweden is on this. You're buying this? Excuse me, I'm sorry. That was very rude of me.
Right.
I broke character. This is completely legitimate. We need to be very worried. It's just a strange, contagious disorder.
Weird. It's odd.
Yeah, I don't understand what could possibly cause these children. I mean, there's no way their parents could in any way be influencing them.
No.
Children aren't at all influenced by their parents.
I mean, the next thing you're going to tell me is that children fake sickness to stay home from school.
No.
I don't know what kind of world that would be.
I've never seen the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've never done that myself.
No.
Certainly not.
I don't. Of course I am. No, never. Is it possible that these children who went into these coma-like states knew of the syndrome? And if so, might they have been unintentionally showing symptoms as a way of saving their families from deportation? I think everyone acknowledges that there's a degree of psychological contagion. Georgie had a family friend with the condition. The 2 sisters had a cousin. And the boy in the hotel saw at least 3 other children in the hotel with the syndrome. It's a little like a way anorexia emerged in the U.S. at a moment in time when people were preoccupied with the body image and the media were emphasizing thinness. The illness borrows from culture, and suddenly you have all these people who are starving themselves, and doctors began diagnosing anorexia. It's hard to pinpoint what the mechanism would be for children to develop resignation syndrome. It seems to have become a culturally permissible way of expressing one's despair.
Okay, well, anorexia has been diagnosed, or at least has been identified throughout history. Not, please don't deport me or I'm going to lay in bed and mope all day. Except, well, at least whenever anyone comes to see me because I'm clearly not dying.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think so. That was, first of all, a horrible comparison to make. Doctor? Whoever wrote this? Terrible. Read up a little bit on the history of that kind of stuff. Secondly, you're admitting that this is a psychosomatic effect, meaning that it's essentially not real, and that, yeah, it's caused by outside influences. Maybe if you analyze their parents, what if you took the kids out of the homes for a couple days and away from the parents and actually put them in a room under observation. You put them in a hospital under observation, and you didn't allow them to just, I mean, you force-fed them if they didn't move. I think after about, 2 days, the kids would, at the most, they want to go up and play.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to sit there and pretend for the psychologist anymore. Just my guess. Oh, excuse me. I mean, it's completely real. It's a completely legitimate phenomenon.
No. And there's a good reason why they didn't do that. It's totally okay. There was a government report that came out in 2006. The report posed a theory that the children, many of them Roma, came from holistic cultures without a clear boundary between the individual self and the family. The children were sacrificing themselves for their families. They take on a martyr role, and in fact, the illness does allow the family to stay.
So they're admitting it.
Incredible.
They admit that this is a tactic, and that the family is involved in it. But it doesn't matter. Again, if this is really happening, take the children away. Take them away. They're clearly being abused in some way then by this.
Right.
This is abusive. If you actually are worried about these children, take them away and put them in a home or something.
And observe them at least.
Yeah.
Immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers all over the world suffer. Has this happened anywhere else? I've not heard of children with these symptoms anywhere else. I have no doubt that children from Syria, for example, are experiencing fears and traumatic reactions.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't that weird? But there's no evidence that they're slipping into this syndrome. There was a slang term, Musliman, referring to captives in concentration camps in World War II. They were people who decided to stop trying, to sort of just give up. Once you realize that nothing you will do will change your situation, you give up and become passive. But that wasn't quite the same thing.
No, nor is learned helplessness.
Amazing. Why is this happening to children in Sweden? Yes, why Sweden? Because they're cocked and they'll let you do that.
Well, I'll tell you why, before they answer it.
Sure.
Because Sweden gives the most gives. Sweden has one of the best sort of programs to give people the most amount of money per month. It's why you see people trying to come to Sweden and not wanting to stay in places like Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm. Refugees there are among the best treated in the world.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Amazing how that works. There's a national conversation about refugees. People are consumed about how to best to treat people seeking asylum. People feel a lot of guilt about whether the country is living up to its humanitarian ideals and doing enough. Well, what color guilt is that? What is that guilt? Is that the white guilt?
White
is that
guilt.
what we're talking
Just
about?
a little bit, yeah.
So doctors are primed to think about how social conditions can affect health. And I think culture shapes the way we express our despair. Once a particular set of symptoms becomes sanctioned as a way of showing suffering, it becomes more common. No. This is an amazing article. They're like, yeah, this is bullshit, but,
It's bullshit, but believe it.
Feel
bad.
Yeah, feel bad. I mean, you're white. You should feel bad. One thing I admired in Sweden was the way these children galvanized the national conversation. The government was concerned, the media were concerned, and the politicians were concerned. At so many levels, there was so much conversation about symptoms of children seeking asylum. Wow.
Yep.
That was
But you should feel
amazing.
bad. These are children. Because think of all these poor children migrants. I mean, even if you think that what they're doing is bullshit and, gaming the system, which it, clearly is, potentially is. I mean, they're just children. All of these cases we've looked at have been children. Now, can you think of a single instance where anything negative has come from people migrating to Europe? Because I can't. I mean, they're all children, right? Just by the statistics I listed.
Yeah, they're all children, so there's really nothing bad happening other than, like I said, there's these grooming gangs, but I'm aware that this is just...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about any kinds of, suicide bombings or trucks being driven into public spaces or violent attacks on anyone. That certainly has not happened at all in the past.
Well, the trucks really, I think the trucks are more or less the evolution and development of Transformers. So eventually that will explain itself.
Do you think that's what they're trying to do by that? Is, if they drive the truck fast enough into a solid object that they'll meld with the truck and become a Transformer?
Yeah, well, it's robots. They're robots. They transform into robots, and we just haven't reached that point in the evolution. They're shy.
Oh, okay.
They're shy. So they just murder innocent civilians on their own, and sometimes people try to frame innocent terrorists by putting ISIS material in the trucks.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
But, you know, that's just framing.
It is, typically.
Or it's Russians, if you want to believe
But there
Louise Mensch.
certainly haven't been any, like, recent examples of potentially negative effects. Not anything that we could even pull up literally from the last couple of days. No such things at all.
No, not at all. And we're going to switch this camera. Oh, right. Boom, right in business.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
All right, we're right in business. That one was quick. All right, so as you were saying, you have these are articles now.
This one is from today, I believe, or yesterday. So, and I triple checked this guy's. This is, and also this particular website. This is, of course, translated from Italian, but this website, as far as I can tell, is highly respected in Italy. And I found multiple articles on this. It just seems that we're not hearing anything about this outside of outside of these uniquely Italian outlets.
That's interesting. I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
So
this again, it's auto-translated online. So sorry if the
this is going to be a little rough. Yeah, it's translated.
I mean, you could always do it
Italian.
yourself.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, I don't speak Italian at all. I know nothing about it. I'm a bad Italian.
Oh.
I'm a bad Italian. Rome, fake nurse tries to rape a woman in labor, arrested. Okay. A 38-year-old stole the uniform from a hospital warehouse. Now he's accused of sexual violence. The trial was set for January 10th before the 5th criminal section. In the courtroom, in front of the investigating magistrate, he appeared calm. Why did I do it? Who knows? Only God knows. Vittorio Pilla replied to the public prosecutor, asking him for explanations on the reason that prompted him on New Year's Eve to disguise himself as a nurse and sexually harass a 35-year-old woman just moved into the labor room. Theater of the eerie episode of the San Eugenio, where Ali Abdullah, 38-year-old Somali, made, according to his documents, on New Year's Days, although it may be a date of convenience, until Sunday, unknown to Italian justice, arrived just before 5 p.m.
Again, sorry about the grammar. It's auto-translated, guys.
No problem. Probably with a very specific purpose, since without delay, he got into the obstetrics department on the second floor of one of the 10 buildings that are in the back of the hospital complex. But what worries me the most is the fact that Abdullah managed to get past the nurtured watchkeeping service to at first reach the Sant Eugenio laundry room, from where he stole the green nursing uniform, including rubber shoes. So the 40 in Rome for years, always without a home, perhaps after trying to get the status of political refugee, he could turn undisturbed for the hospital without anyone, despite it was Sunday afternoon. Moreover, the last year, and then with many relatives visiting the hospitalized relative, he realized that he was actually an intruder.
Let me try to clear up that mess of my understanding of what that was trying to say. So they're saying the near 40-year-old guy who is living there, trying to get the status of a political refugee, basically, just waltzed into this hospital, grabbed a nurse uniform in the middle of a Sunday afternoon without anyone noticing, or I'm sure asking, because that would be racist, just guessing what Abdullah might look like. I mean, he could be a white guy.
Of course.
But yeah, he just waltzed right in and tried to rape a woman literally going into labor.
In labor. The first to find out in spite of herself, another point that makes the whole story even more dramatic and upsetting, was a 35-year-old Roman lady who was about to begin labor to give birth to her baby. Alone in the antechamber of the delivery room, the patient was awaiting the arrival of the midwife, when instead she approached the fake nurse who sat at the end of the bed. "Everything good? Don't worry," Abdullah would have told her, doing everything to look calm and professional. But his gestures immediately following, his hands tucked under the sheets, were unequivocal. In a moment, the young woman understood everything and began to scream. His cries of help brought a doctor and 2 real nurses into the labor room, who tried to block the intruder, who in the meantime was trying to get away through the ward. Company that managed for a few minutes, just the weather. According to the police reconstruction, to continue in the obscene gestures always inside the department, but the vigilantes blocked it shortly after, handing it over to the officers at the Esposizione Commissioner, advised by the health management of Sant'Eugenio. Visibly impaired, unable to sit still, the Somali was visited by doctors who eventually declared that mandatory medical treatment was not necessary. Thus, Abdullah was arrested for aggravated sexual assault and theft of nurses' clothing. Yesterday at Piazza Claudio, his lawyer Chiara...
You're a terrible Italian.
I am a horrible Italian. Actually, no, don't question my Italian pronunciations. I am Italian. Giordano expressed his intention to request the psychiatric examination for his client, reached by an order for custody in prison, pending the next hearing scheduled within a week. The false paramedic will remain in a cell at Regina Coeli. I guess that's the prison.
So we should take out of this is, I mean, it's just like one weirdo guy, right?
Yeah, there is not a crime problem at all with
no,
the refugees.
we have not seen any rising crime
No,
at all.
There's not a massively rising percentage of crime in other countries. That's
Nope.
not happening.
And so if, for example, there was stricter immigration laws that didn't have this guy here who's trying to be a political refugee, do you think this woman, in already like one of the most traumatic moments in her life, would have then been sexually assaulted?
I've never heard of sexually assaulting someone while they're giving birth. That's a
That's
new
why.
one.
I mean, that's why this
That's a
threw
new
me for
one.
a loop.
I don't. That's
You have to be really.
That's some cultural enrichment. You got to say. I mean, they're teaching us new methods
You know
and
what?
tactics.
That's
here.
what we were supposed to learn from that Sweden video.
Yeah.
We're
right.
they're teaching us.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't really teach them because I mean
No.
that's racist.
Who are you
But
to?
this is. We can learn so much from their culture.
Who are you to tell someone who lives in a culture that, for example, honor kills people? Who are you to tell them that it's wrong to murder innocent people for no reason? Who are you to tell a person that?
A racist.
Okay, next one.
This is another one. This is just from today. So, the 3rd. Yeah, more than 60 babies may have been exposed in Gothenburg measles infection. And this is the English article I could find on this. I also found several articles in Sweden or in Swedish. And the reason why this is interesting, I mean, do you want to just read the article and then I'll go over why it
Sure.
just matters a little bit?
Yeah.
Or maybe why it matters.
Yeah. More than 60 newborns in Gothenburg are being offered antibodies after a hospital worker contracted the measles, the 12th confirmed infection in less than a month in the city. It was confirmed late on Tuesday that an employee at Astra, this place in
Sjuhuset?
Sweden, good luck if you can do that one, at this hospital, who had been to the maternity ward, had the measles. The worker was at the ward on December 28th and 29th when 54 children were born. When contacting the families affected and offered them to bring the child to a special room at the hospital to be treated with hemoglobin, Salgrenska Hospital Chief Goral Nerglius told TT, the worker has not been to the neonatal ward, but has been in contact with other staff who have been to both wards. So protective antibodies are also being given to 9 premature babies. The risk is very small, but there's a theoretical risk that some of the children have been infected, and we have to act on that, said Nerglius. The hospital expected to treat all children affected last night and on Wednesday. Since the first case of measles was confirmed on December 10th, the hospital has been trying to track down those who may have been infected. Many are believed to have been exposed to the virus, but only a limited number of infections are expected, as most Swedes are vaccinated against measles. Yes.
That's the end of the article. More, after that, it's just like what
Okay.
to do if you're in Sweden and think you have the measles. So, the measles is pretty much a defeated disease. We have a vaccine for it. It is pretty easy to treat. And as you see, most Swedes are vaccinated against the measles. So where is this outbreak? And if you notice, there were 12 people. This is the 12th confirmed measles outbreak, or measles confirmed case in Gothenburg. Where is that coming from then? If Swedes are vaccinated, that means they can't get it. Now, I looked it up actually before we started, and it seems like it's about, it's considered an extremely rare disease at this point. Even in the United States, there's about 100 cases per year. So within the course of a month, in a much smaller country like Sweden, for you to have 12 cases and now a very large risk of infection, Why might that be? Could it be because people coming from outside Sweden who are not vaccinated against the measles do have the potential to not only possess but spread that disease? I mean, it's not like people who come from predominantly third world countries are not vaccinated or anything. It's not like, for example, we've recently had a massive issue in Madagascar with the spread of bubonic and pneumonic plague, which is primarily caused by people digging up dead bodies and dancing around with them.
Yes, I saw that. What was going on over there? They part of their culture is digging up dead bodies and dancing with them.
Yes.
And there's a bit of a complication when you do that.
It's looking, yes. Like, there was basically, the World Health Organization said that there was a massive plague, that both bubonic and pneumonic plague being spread around in Madagascar.
The plague.
Yes, the plague, the Black Plague, guys, was being spread around in Madagascar. And in fact, because they do have access to some antibiotics, it's possible for it to become antibiotic resistant. Don't go to Madagascar. But part of the problem is that, you know, when you bring in people from these third world nations, and it's not just necessarily because they haven't been vaccinated, they just have different cultures too, like dancing around with corpses. But the main reason is they haven't been vaccinated. They're exposed to different types of illnesses. And when you bring them in unvetted, what do? Expose potentially 60 babies to the measles, a defeated disease. Things like bubonic and pneumonic plague are making a comeback because of this. Because of this globalism. But remember, think of the poor crying children.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're a leftist and you're arguing in favor of this, I just like, how do you? I mean, most of the time they're not even going to acknowledge any of this shit. They're just going to, for bringing it up, you're a racist and that's it. But you really believe that a country should be forced to undergo the risk of something like the plague or whatever, measles? I mean, and I say forced because, you know, the EU is trying to force Poland to take refugees.
Good luck.
And just this whole idea of this organization trying to force countries, just saying, you know, fuck your sovereignty, fuck your borders. You are going to have an immigration policy the way we say, and the way we say happens to be completely fucking insane. I just think that if you're going to support this shit, you should at least have to acknowledge and tell the natives of these countries to their face why they have to or should have to do this, and why they are, I guess, lesser people than another group of people. It's the same argument I make with immigration. Well, yeah, wait, that's what
because fuck you.
Right.
Because this is they need to claim their space. Just like feminism, we need to reclaim women's rights and stuff. Claim women's space, claim minority space. They always have that reclaiming or claiming space. And because think of the children.
That's amazing.
And even though at this point we have so much data to show how few children are actually involved in all of this migrant crisis, of course they will always use children as their crux.
Sure, absolutely.
And as their, hill to die on them. Think of the children, think of the children. And they are dying on it. A lot of these European countries, they are dying on the hill of think of the poor children.
And there's not even the majority. They're not even the vast majority.
They're such a severe minority. It's astounding. I mean, there are estimates I've seen that up to, when you consider the number of refugees that have been found to be claimed to be children actually end up being adult males, you're looking at, up to 90%. That's a massive number are adult males. And yet what are we told? What does every article, what does everything show? Women and children who are innocents, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Well, that's not a fun topic, and it's really unfortunate what's happening. But you know what? You can't cover it up. You shouldn't cover it up. You should not tolerate behavior like this, where one group of people is demanded to basically give up their culture, their country,
their sovereignty.
It's insane. It's completely insane. I would make the same argument about any group, any race. It doesn't matter. So I don't really. I mean, I think we've been going for about 90 minutes, and I think
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good here. Unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I just think that it's important that somebody talks about some of this stuff, because outside of oh shoot, what's his name? Angry Foreigner said his name. I'm so bad at remembering names. There's a couple people who have spoken about some of these issues. There are a couple, Swedish people who talk about this openly, but not a lot. People generally don't speak out about what's happening in Europe as much as they do about what's happening in America. And so I do think, for this one time, it's good for us to take a little, and this is a microscopic examination of some of the propaganda and also some of the realities. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. All right, so that's the end of this, and what we'll do, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to look real quick to see what the Super Chats were, if there were any. And some Streamlabs, no problem. So let me look at the Streamlabs first. And again, I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. All right, let's see. I don't see any Streamlabs.
Oh, no?
Maybe. Yep, no. All right, let's see. Let me look up the Super Chats under. I think I can do both. I think I have the other one on my phone. So let's see. YouTube. All right. Almost there. There we go. January 3rd is today, and this is January. Wow. Is that today? January 3rd?
Yeah, there's a few today.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. January 3rd, drum ski saxo racer. Trump won't fire Mueller. No evidence is evidence. Yeah, there was the earlier discussion we were having with H.A. Goodman. I think Trump could fire Mueller. I do think there would be political fallout. I don't generally give a shit about stuff like that, but I would understand why he wouldn't fire Mueller. If I was Trump, I would fire Mueller immediately. But yeah, we're going to see what happens there. Thank you. Crucial Bunny. Aiden Senpai. What is that?
Kawaii desu ne.
Okay. That, obviously, you understand that. Thank you, Crucial Bunny. Robert Loso, Aiden reminds me looks-wise of the lead actress from the movie Divergent. I think I know what movie you're talking about. Yes. Yes, I do remember. HB, I think you might have outpunted your coverage. Oh, that's very possible. I like outpunting my coverage. Good for you. Win for men everywhere. LOL. Joking. Happy New Year. Well, thank you very much, Robert Loso. I appreciate that. Neon Ghoul, Keck be praised, our white and lovely purple-dyed hair goddess has graced us before Chatelet. Those lefties seem always thinking about kitties, wink, wink. That's true.
Yeah.
There is a lot of that going on right now. And it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. Coffee Fresh, first stream I've watched since the change. God, you're ugly. LOL. Nah, I'm just fucking around. Great to see you guys. Hope the studio's going well. It is going very well. Thank you very much, Coffee Fresh. This has been very fun. Neon Goal, Aiden should be in Star Wars Episode 9 Wet Dreams 24/7. Well, it would never be released. Grinning Libertarian, Aiden and Hart are fucking gorgeous. Jealous as fuck. Thank you. You guys are being very nice.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Grinning Libertarian, again, we support immigration, so we're going to berate children and make them cry because reasons. Denmark, white liberals. That's exactly the sentiment that I took from that commercial we watched. Absolutely. It was completely ridiculous. Giovanni Angelo, what's up, Giovanni? I can't stand it. Hi, Aiden. Thank you very much, Giovanni. I appreciate your support. He's been on for a long time, and I appreciate it. Sir Comments, Too Early Esquire said, so happy for the studio and seeing the faces of the people who are saving the future of news. Thank you. That's very flattering. Mm-hmm. I hope that happens. I don't know if that'll happen. That's very lofty, but I do appreciate the sentiment. Keith Dark, shout out Amazing Lauren. Alex Jones is Bill Hicks.
Alex Jones is Bill Hicks, confirmed.
Yes, absolutely. And the last one for the Hard News Network, Luca Clemente. Tomorrow is my 26th wedding anniversary. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
congrats.
awesome. Thank you again, Luca. It says the secret of our success is not keeping a gun in the house. My wife would have shot me at least 1 year ago. Well, that's a good idea. If you think that might happen, that is a good idea. All right, so thank you, Luca, and I think I can get to the other super chats on the other account on my phone, and we'll be going back to the normal way that we do super chats when we do the news stream. But when we have guests, we're going to do it this way. Let me bring YouTube up.
Someone that did a new one.
Oh, cool. Thank you for letting me know. And Marsupial Gamer, proving conservative women are the most beautiful. I tend to agree with that, especially if you want to look at, like if you go to Antifa or one of these leftist rallies where they're screaming at the world.
Molly Locks used to be very pretty, if you look at her before pictures.
That is true. I do remember that. Okay, what the heck? Oh, it's going into the mobile. That's okay. I'm gonna figure this out. Okay, we need desktop. All right, should be 1 more minute for the Hard Bastard super chats. Desktop site. Cool. All right.
Oh, I forgot you could do that.
Yeah, I have this one on here. And one more. We're almost there. Thank you for your patience. All right, let's see. Super chat from January 3rd. Wow, guys, you guys are awesome. Man, wow. All the way down. Holy moly.
Well, thanks.
Geez. Okay, January 3rd. Ares KRL, Ares KRL didn't have a comment. Thank you very much, though. I appreciate your support. Cold Warrior, ask HA when Hillary will be hanged. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Of course, figuratively, not literally. Share Blue. Hitler did nothing wrong, said, the 1% is 50% Jew. I wonder if they control stuff. Well, that's an interesting question. Perhaps we will discuss that at some other time. Cold Warrior, Lemmy Kilmister represents the Ramones. I don't know anything about that, but I believe that's the H.A. Goodman was wearing a Ramones shirt. And again, shout out to H.A. for coming on. Eric H526, thank you, Hard Bastard. Thank you, H.A. Goodman. Thank you very much, Eric. This one I think we read before. Maddington, I am an HB hipster. I subscribe to this channel with just over 100 subscribers. And when you become big, I can say I liked HB before he was cool. Well, thank you very much, Maddington. Jet Li for life. I like Jet Li. He was a great kung fu Hong Kong actor. Best YouTube couple. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Francis Lanzer did not have a comment, but thank you very much for your support. Bold like a leopard, you two are like Emmylou Harris and Graham Parsons. Do you know who that is?
No idea.
Don't know who that is. Sorry for cheesy country reference. Oh, now I know why I don't know who it is. Rock on. Read my blog post in your email. Want to discuss. Okay, I will do that. Thank you very much, Bold Like a Leopard. Rhonda Gray, thank you very much. There's no message, but I appreciate your support. The Crimson Satyr. The only good thing I will say about Trudeau is that he limited his refugee program to just families. Unfortunately, he's bringing back ISIS fighters. What is the deal with these governments that are integrating ISIS fighters back into their societies? This is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
They didn't do nothing, dude.
It's insane. That's unconscionable. These people are treasonous. They should be put in prison immediately. At best, that's as good as it's going to get. Mr. Delicious 0707, the length these non-racists will go to prove how non-racist they are is astounding. Also, you guys had better start drinking and fast. Yeah, this made me want to drink. This commercial was so there was so much propaganda in it. Billy Ree, digging the new set. digging a new setup, and Aiden, great hair, and HB, great stash. Well, thank you very much, Billy. I appreciate that. I agree. I like Aiden's hair a lot.
I like the stash.
Oh, thank you. Nelson's TAS and Game Archive, my 2 favorite red pill dispensers together at last. Well, there we go. We are dispensing red pills, according to Nelson's TAS. Simmerick 2, you two are adorable. Will the kids be hard paladins? Well, yeah, they wouldn't be bastards, so I guess they would have to be hard paladins, right? Thank you very much, Simmerick 2. Uncle Bobbity, NPR, not possibly realistic. Yes, the NPR article that was about the syndrome of bullshit. Christopher Wolf. Just jumped on. So that's Aiden. Good for you, buddy. She's a hottie. Both of you keep up the seemingly impossible task of not lying. Fuck the MSM.
Yeah,
he actually brings up a good point that, like, I look around and, like, people fuck up a lot. And I don't think anyone's immune to that. So it's like,
everybody fucks up.
You have to... No. I don't mean, like, just making mistakes. It just seems like a lot of people...
Lie?
Yeah, and like
really egregiously?
and like you don't want to be one of these people that's like, oh, I don't lie, I bring the truth, because that's also bullshit. It's like you have to balance between the two, and we will try our best. Naked Antidote, Aiden, finally see you. I finally see you. Thank you, Naked Antidote. Backbone Betty, good to see the mannerisms with the voices. Been watching well for over a year. Happy New Year to you both. Well, thank you, Backbone Betty. I appreciate that. 2 more. Fraser Danger, what is your character in FFXI?
Her name was Aiden.
For you.
She was a paladin and a bard and a white mage.
Oh. No idea what any of that is, but that sounds great. Naked Antidote, Aiden, I officially love you now. I will use the picture of this live stream as a picture for my video. I thought that was going in a different direction, so that kind of made a turn where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, well, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's the support is very overwhelming, and this is all working out very well, and we're going to get the kinks out of it, and we won't have to change the batteries, and everything is going to be smoother as we continue, and we're going to hopefully open a P.O. box tomorrow, so if people want to send in stuff, they can, but it's not necessary because of the tracksuits and shit like that I will be obtaining. And so it'll be Tracksuit Tuesdays. And if you guys have any other ideas for, I think there was the, what was it? The Offensive Costume Friday? Well, that would be for Halloween. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Cultural Appropriation Fridays is an idea also. So anyway, I appreciate all your guys' support. Tomorrow we will be doing the regular news stream. Not sure what time we're going to be doing that. Apparently there's supposed to be snow in the area that I'm at, so we're going to just kind of have to see how that plays out. And next Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon, I will have on Styx, Hex, and Hammer 666. So that'll be fantastic. I appreciate everyone's support. I will be back tomorrow. I